Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Joseph Porcelli, and I'm a public agency lead for Nextdoor, and I manage our partnerships in the central and eastern states. And joining me today is a very special guest, Teresa Neal from the U.S. Fire Administration. She's a fire program specialist. And we put this webinar together today to help you leverage the resources the U.S. Fire Administration has and a new engagement plan I've put together for fire departments that you can use to communicate with your residents via Nextdoor. The good news is the resources that Teresa will share with you, you can also use on Facebook, Twitter, and other social platforms. So we hope you appreciate the webinar and learn a lot today. So what we're going to cover here, we just did our introductions. Teresa will share information about her outreach resources, and then I'll go over components of the engagement plan, and then we'll have a little time for questions and answer. We think it's probably only going to take us about 30 minutes today, so this should be pretty quick and sweet and right to the point for you. So what I'm going to do here is just set the stage for a second. The reason we're here at this webinar is last Thanksgiving, there was a fire in my community. I live in Annapolis, Maryland, and 24 of my neighbors were displaced. And I was kind of shaken by this. We live just across the street. And I started doing some research and trying to understand, like, what can I do to help prevent fires in my own home here in the community where I live? And it turns out that I was doing lots of things that just weren't smart. And so I've been on a mission to do everything I can in my power to empower Nextdoor partners with information to help deter fires and reaching out to partners like the U.S. Fire Administration to help get great content in front of you. So with that said, I thought it might just be helpful to appreciate some of the context. So hopefully you'll walk away with great things to communicate and great resources to help increase the effectiveness of your communication from the U.S. Fire Administration going forward. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Teresa, who will introduce herself, and I'm also going to make her the presenter so you can see her screen. So just give me 1 second. Teresa, you are now the presenter, and we should be seeing your screen in just a second once you accept.
Are you seeing it now?
Not yet.
No.
You should see something on your screen, I believe.
I did click that.
Okay.
But it's still not showing.
Not yet. I'm going to try one more time. I'm going to change it back to me. 1 second, folks. Okay, I made it myself one more time, and I'm going to change. Presenter. Okay, you should be prompted one more time. And for everyone watching, we practiced this. And let's see. Did that pull up your screen? I still can't see it on my end.
What about now?
Yes, we're good. Okay.
Okay, good. Awesome. All right, thank you so much, Joseph, for inviting me just to take a few minutes to show your members some of the things that we have at USFA to help them as they get out fire safety messages. And just, I really appreciate your love, your drive to get people safer from fire in their homes. And I'm glad to be here. So my name is Teresa Neal. I'm a fire program specialist at U.S. Fire Administration. I'm on the Prevention and Information branch. And so here at USFA, we create the materials, most of the materials for the website, but anything that is used out in the field by fire departments to do public education, we've created it here in this branch. We also run the website and also all social media channels. So we found as we've spoken to fire departments, to members of fire departments when they've come on campus at the National Fire Academy, that sometimes they can't get into schools. And now that everyone is getting into social media, they really needed assets to be able to use on social media. So over the last 2 years, we've tried real hard to create materials for social media and materials that could be converted, used either way. They could put it on their website if they wanted to, but they could also use it on social media. And so that's what I want to show you during these few moments. So if you went to our U.S. Fire Administration webpage, usfa.fema.gov, this is our homepage right now. Click on Fire Prevention and Public Education. And then if you just scroll down, you'll see this side thing, Fire Prevention Safety Digital Media Library. When you click on that, it's going to take you to what we've created. We have social media toolkits. We've just released pictographs in the last few months. We have photos that you can use as you're creating your own materials, or if you want to put messages with some different photos. We have photos that you can use. We also have some B-roll footage. If you wanted to, make a little PSA of your own, and you wanted to have show somebody installing smoke alarms or making an escape plan, then we have videos there that you could do voiceover with. And then we have some audio PSAs that have been used for radio. But I want to show you first the social media toolkit. So when you click on the toolkit, you'll come to this page. We have a lot of social media cards that you can use as here with different topics. So we are trying to incorporate EMS into a lot of the things that we do. So it's about road safety, stop bleeding, treating a burn, sprinklers. We have some wildfire cards, fireworks, and some holiday cards. But what we've done here with these social media toolkits, I'll go on to the essentials, broken it up into smoke alarms, fire escape plans, and home fire sprinklers. So what you have is some messages that you could share, some hashtags that might be useful to you, and then the cards that deal with that subject. We have them in Facebook and Twitter, and I have learned from Joseph that the best size for Nextdoor is the Twitter card. It's not exactly perfect, but it's the closest, and I'll talk with our designers about maybe adding another size when we start making new cards, and then we can go back and do the rest of them. But then we have the cards in English and Spanish. So the social media cards are good because it's some of them are animated, but it's a picture, and it has some quick, important messages to make people safer. We know that when using social media that there's more, you get more hits or more attraction to your post if you have some type of a graphic or a video. And so these will grab the attention for what's this about, and then with the picture, and then just a quick message that if they follow this, it'll make them safer in their homes. So after social media cards, like I said, we have pictures that you can use from if you wanted to use a picture and then have your own content. So that is the smoke alarm social media toolkit. And so all the toolkits are set up the same way, with messages, with the media cards that we have, and maybe some hashtags, and if we have any videos, they'll also be available. I'm just going back to that page. So the next thing I want to show you is the pictographs. So this is something new that we've just released. The pictographs are in response to people coming and asking us to translate materials into many different languages. Some of the metropolitan areas that we have worked with have said they have up to 180 languages spoken in their area. And it's just, we just are not able to financially to translate all of them. But on top of that, just because we translate it into Spanish doesn't mean it's the correct Spanish, doesn't mean it's the Spanish that is, that part of the population understand. And so we decided what we would do is take some of the EMAC, which for us is Emergency Messaging Advisory Committee messages, and turn them into pictographs. And after we did that, they went through a couple rounds of testing. The first round of testing was with English, all 4 types of Spanish, Hindi, and Chinese, and they were actually tested in their own language to find out if they understood what was going on in the sequence. We came back, refined the pictures based on the feedback from the participants, and then we tested them again. So what we have are, that when you're using them, that they have been tested twice. There's a lot of questions about it. We really didn't want to use any language whatsoever on the pictographs. But we found out from the testies that they thought that we should. So you'll see some promptings on there. So I'm just going to show you one. Do escape planning, since that is kind of the theme for Fire Prevention Week this year. So this is what an automation of it. This is the first picture. That's the sequence. And then after that, what you're able to do is you're able to either download the entire sequence to use it, or you can download individual pictures, images, in case you wanted to just use one of them and have your own messaging with it if you were going to add messaging to it, or if you just wanted to have that picture when showing it. And for some of them, we were able to do animations. So these animations you can download on your computer and then put them onto social media. I'll just show you a quick one. It's 24 seconds. Okay.
Hey, Teresa, while you're navigating to a different place on your website here, could you just briefly explain what is the difference between a pictogram and a social media card, and what was the idea and purpose around that?
Okay, so the social media cards are just a single card that has a picture and a message in English written out, and we have them in most of the pictographs. Most of the social media cards are done in English and Spanish, so you'll be able to find them in both. But what they are, their intent is to be used on social media so that people can see them and, as we always say, become safer in their homes. The pictographs are really used to be used for people that English is not their first language or they have low literacy. And you can be assured that they've been tested with groups. The reason why we picked Spanish, Hindi, and Chinese, because those are the top immigrant groups that are in the United States. They have the most, and so we use those to test from there. So when you use them, there's very few words, but the whole message isn't printed out like they are on the social media card. It is a series of pictures to help them walk through and get the understanding of that's what the message is.
Yeah, for me, it seemed like it was very digestible, easy to understand, and like the key message was like, close the door, go down the stairs, right? And I think in a world of social media where people aren't paying so much attention anymore, getting right to the point in a graphical representation is powerful, and I think that's what you folks have accomplished there.
Yeah, and we found in our testing for other things, a campaign that we were doing several years ago, we were testing with our high-risk demographics. So it was the older adults, it was caretakers of young children, and smokers. And so we were testing different things with them. And this had nothing to do with pictographs. It was just, like a picture with a word with a sentence on it in bold, and then some other copy underneath it kind of reinforcing what that bold sentence said. And for a couple of the groups, what we found was they were looking only at the picture and they weren't reading at all. At all. And so they had no clue what the picture was about. They thought the picture was about not smoking, like they thought it was from the cancer, for not smoking because of cancer.
Sure.
Even though the sentence said it was about home fires, and it was very small, like probably 5 words, and it was in large print, they were only looking at the pictures. So after several questions, when I went into I stopped the testing, and I asked the tester to please ask them, did the sentence help them understand what we were trying to get across? And almost unanimously, they said, well, we don't read that. We're just looking at the picture. And so that has really, and we found that not just in that one, we tested those in Florida. We found it in the other areas that we tested, Tennessee, Texas. The younger generations, that was their understanding. And so that has really kind of influenced the way that we move forward in trying to get messages out and make things useful for organizations to use when they want to get messages out, that we don't overload them with too much text, even on a flyer, that there's just not, a wall of text, because people aren't going to read it. And I always say that if you have an opportunity and you give somebody something they're not going to use, then it's a lost opportunity, just as if you never were there in the first place. So we really want to make things that are, useful for life safety organizations to get these messages out and get them out consistently, the same messages to the audiences that really need it. That's our big push.
That's fascinating. You guys have done a tremendous job with this, and these resources are fantastic. And just for folks listening, those social media cards and these pictographs are things that you can incorporate in your messaging on Nextdoor. And the reason, again, for some of you who had just joined, that I put this webinar together is, a lot of folks say, we would love to have information to share with residents, but we don't have time to design or write things up. And the U.S. Fire Administration here has really created some wonderful resources, and as we just heard, backed by science and research that are effective, so you can have confidence doing that. Teresa, one other thing I was hoping you could cover is the Fire is Everyone's Fight campaign.
Sure.
What is that, and how can people get involved?
So Fire is Everyone's Fight is an initiative that we started. It's really for us to push it out. It's not USFA's initiative. Our hope is that what people will do is start using the graphic on their materials that they use within their departments or their organizations in their communities, to start getting people to see that and start to think that there are things that they can do to make themselves safer. We want to try to change that norm. Lots of times people, when someone has a fire, it's like it just happened. They don't realize that there were lots of steps before that they could have done to have made themselves safer, or that if it was a fire that just happened due to electrical in the wall, or a lightning strike, that they're no fault of their own, that they could have gotten out safe, quickly and safe, and everybody in the family would have known and could have reduced the panic. And so we worked with a lot of fire professionals and professional organization groups across the country several years ago. And one of the things that they thought was very important was to have consistent safety messages that are being delivered, and that they're being delivered focused on our target demographics, which for us at this time is really young children, or people who care for young children, older adults. And those are the ones that are dying in fires most often. And so what we've done is, through Fire is Everyone's Fight, we've branded all of our materials. Anything that used from USFA for prevention, it will be branded Fire is Everyone's Fight. And we've made most things that we have online customizable, so that you can also, before you do any printing, you can also add your own graphic or logo onto it, so that it's coming from you. Because what we want is, for when people see Fire is Everyone's Fight, they're not thinking about U.S. Fire Administration, they're thinking about their community. They're thinking about their fire department. They're thinking about things that they can do to make themselves safer. It goes back to that local community, not to our organization. It's just at this point, as we're really trying to push it out and to be able to keep up with the graphics and know who's using it, we are doing it where you need to register for it. It's very easy to register. You just put basic information that so that we could get in touch with you. You won't get a bunch of emails from us. At most, you might get one a month that kind of gives you some of the latest resources, not only from us, but from our partners, from NFPA, from UL, from any of the organizations that we work with at a national level. If they have any type of new resources that have come out or new campaigns, then once a month, I send out a bit of a newsletter so that you know where to go get those resources, or that you can just download from that newsletter and start using.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
And just for where people go to register, it's, there it is, right on the bottom of that page.
Yes.
So
all you have to do, you go to the USFA website. If you go to prevention and outreach, as soon as you hit on prevention and outreach, it's going to be on the right-hand side. It's going to bring you to this page that we have right here, and you register by clicking this. And then if you have questions, you can, this is my phone number here, and there's an email address that I and somebody else, we get all the emails, but then we'll answer them. And once I answer it, then you'll have contact with me. So if you have questions, that we can work through the questions with you.
Excellent. Well, Nextdoor is a Fire is Everyone's Fight partner. We have applied, so I encourage everyone else to do the same. The U.S. Fire Administration, Teresa, has gone out of her way to be helpful, and they're a wonderful resource, and that's why I asked her, and thank you kindly for joining and sharing about your social media outreach toolkits, including the cards and the pictographs with everyone. What I'm going to do here, folks, and actually, Teresa, is there anything else you wanted to cover, or are you all set here?
I'm good.
Okay.
So I will give you back your screen.
Okay, thank you. And give me 1 second, everyone, as I take this back. All right. And let's see. So just a couple things about Nextdoor. I know most of you are already partners, so just to cover some basics if you're not and just joining us for the first time, Nextdoor is a social networking platform that helps neighbors that would not or may not otherwise have a chance to connect, to meet each other, to communicate, and be there for each other in their times of needs, or for everyday things like getting recommendations. If, for example, like me this past weekend, another rock hit your windshield and cracked it, I was able to find a service provider who will do an awesome job on my windshield. Nextdoor is now available in over 86% of neighborhoods across the United States. It's about 179,000 Nextdoor neighborhoods across the country. So we have expansive coverage, and we have over 3,100 public agency partners that use our free government interface called Nextdoor for public agencies to communicate with members in the jurisdictions they serve. Every Nextdoor member is a verified resident, and you're able to target messages into specific communities. So for example, I live in Annapolis. The Annapolis Fire Department could target my neighborhood after the fire and let people know what was happening instead of the entire community. And you also have community of neighbors who have joined Nextdoor because they want to be a part of the community. And when neighbors know each other, they look out for each other. And you can activate residents to do things like, go check on their neighbors and make sure that their fire alarms are working. Those are all the kinds of things you can do. There's a couple details about Nextdoor for public agencies that I want to make sure I cover. It's an opt-out platform, so if there are 10,000, 100,000, or 400,000 people in your jurisdiction who are members of Nextdoor, they instantly get your messages. Communications are also initiated by you folks, so it's like opening a door, making an announcement, answering questions, and closing the door. So you don't have to monitor or moderate other conversations because it's something you initiate and close. There's a couple other points here, but due to time, I'm going to move forward. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at the end of our webinar here. So what I want to get to is the engagement plan for fire departments. Now that you know you've got some great resources available from the US Fire Administration in regards to their social media cards, which are images you can use on your Nextdoor posts, and pictographs, which essentially function the same. By the way, I also wanted to say those YouTube video, the YouTube example, the video of the pictograph, you can now post YouTube videos and Vimeo videos on Nextdoor. The link to the video will render on the platform and all members can watch it within Nextdoor itself. So a couple things here. Nextdoor, the engagement plan that I wrote was actually done in conjunction with the Chicago Fire Department. And Larry Merritt is their deputy director. And when they started using Nextdoor a couple months ago, we sat down and he said, yeah, I'm really excited about this, but I could really use some help crafting different kind of messages so that I can just be really efficient because I got a lot of other things on my plate. So this engagement plan actually started by me helping Larry write things that are included in the plan. And there's actually 8 weeks worth of posts here, a post a week that you can copy and paste and start using for your community. So if you're starting from scratch, for example, this is an introductory message that went really well. Notice at the bottom of my screen that Nextdoor now shows you how many impressions, and these are unique impressions. So 43,028 people in the city of Chicago saw or interacted with this message in one way or another. Nextdoor has a polling functionality that is really, really powerful. And it's a way to overcome apathy, because what the polling functionality does is it asks a question of your audience and is fun for them to answer. And so Larry posted this poll and he got over 1,000 people participating throughout Chicago. And if you've ever done a survey or a poll, you know it takes a long time, it's really expensive. This literally took us about 5 minutes to write, another 5 minutes to post, and over 28,000 people saw this. So sometimes getting people to engage with messaging around smoke detectors and that sort of thing can be a little tricky, but this is a fun way to kind of break past apathy and get people to think about it. There was also 97 different discussions, and people said funny things like, every time I cook, I check my smoke detector, right? So it was a fun way for people to participate, and people were thanking people for, you know, that silly content, but it got people thinking, and I bet a bunch of people went and checked their smoke detectors because of this poll. Now, after the poll, what we did is, and you'll actually see what this example here, I believe came from the US Fire Administration, but there's the kind of graphics that are out there. You could say, here's what you need to know, right? And this post went into detail about the importance of checking your smoke detector. So you do the poll, you get people to think, and then you educate and activate them in the follow-up here so that they take more of those actions to help prevent fires in their neighborhood. Now, we repeated the same process with the carbon monoxide monitor, and this time 1,887 people voted, and I believe the results were, I think 70% of people said yes, that they did have a carbon monoxide monitor, which surprised both of us. That was excellent. The other thing with polls, which is really cool, you can download poll results by Nextdoor neighborhoods. So there's like 350 neighborhoods in Chicago, but you can also do it, I think in their account, they have it organized by police district, I think. So you can see how different districts, or actually it's wards, could perform in Chicago. So Larry can see where the wards that had the lowest results is where he spent some more time doing some educating on Nextdoor and down in the ground in community events. So this could inform where you allocate your on the ground resources for your fire outreach, your fire prevention outreach, which is really cool. Another example here is people did not know that they could sign up to receive urgent alerts from Nextdoor via text. So he used this poll as a way to educate the members that, hey, this exists and here's where to sign up. In fact, today, my colleague Amos sent out an email to all of the Nextdoor partners around the country on how to educate people using different polls. And I'll tweet that out, some of those examples, which are excellent. But this could be a question like, did you know that we're offering a fire prevention workshop next Wednesday at 7 o'clock? Yes, I did. No, I didn't. But it's a way to promote that. So we see a ton of engagement on Nextdoor when we do polls, and I highly encourage you to do some if you haven't already. This was another post that went over really well, and we suggested this to all of our partners around the country, but can you see your house numbers or the address on the mailbox? Not everybody thinks about this. And in fact, I had a situation where one of my neighbors who was elder needed an ambulance the other day, and the ambulance couldn't find the number on the house because it wasn't very available to her. So this is really important and can be life-saving. And this message, along with everything else you've seen, is available in the engagement plan that I've written that is available in this webinar as a handout, and you'll see a link at the end to download. A couple other examples, and these is from FDNY in New York. They use Nextdoor to let people know about what happened at a fire in a certain area and get the word out. They're also promoting open houses and other things. So there's all types of ways that you can use Nextdoor to communicate with your members for fire prevention, but also to keep people informed about what happened. And maybe if there was an investigation or you found something out, it's just a very powerful way to reach people. So for those of you who aren't already using Nextdoor, and I think there's a couple of you on the webinar, you can get started by going to nextdoor.com/agency. And all you do is fill out this form, and we verify you are who you say you are. You get access and can instantly communicate with all of your residents in the jurisdictions where you serve. And for the engagement plan, it is available as a handout here in the webinar. So if you go to the right-hand side of your screen, under handouts, you'll see that PDF document. You can also have access to the Google Doc, which is you can find at bit.ly.nextdoor.gov/fire. And I am consistently updating that. So the PDF will give you everything that's there today, but I'll learn or get better posts and I update that document. So it's a live document that you can refer to as you'd like. And so the last thing that I wanted you to know here is here's how to stay in touch with me. That's my cell number or my email, and you can also find me on Twitter. I manage half the country. My colleague Robbie manages the West and South, and Alexa manages California. So if you reach out to me and you're in a state I don't cover, I will be happy to introduce you to those folks. But at this time, I'm going to pause and take questions. So if anybody has any questions, you can simply go to the questions feature here, and I see a couple. So let me just expand this and I'll start answering. And Teresa, I may read it out loud for you to answer as well. So
okay.
Let's see. The first question, when someone's opt out, do they automatically opt out of the entire agency post, or they can opt out from official posts? So this is a question for me I'll take. On Nextdoor, members have the ability to mute authors of the account. So if Joseph Porcelli is an author in Chicago Fire, the person can mute me and will no longer receive posts from me. However, if they unsubscribe from the agency, they will no longer receive any communications from Chicago Fire. The next question is, do you have samples of your polls you can share with us? I sure do. There are samples in the playbook. There's also, if you go to agencysupport.nextdoor.com and search for polls, there's a best practices guide there. You can also go to agencyforum.nextdoor.com, and I will be posting a couple more poll examples today that you can have access to. And let's see here. Someone, Kevin from Chester Fire, asked, how do I get more agencies to sign up for Nextdoor? We've actually learned a couple things about that over the last couple years, and agencies naturally think passing out flyers is going to help. And we've done a couple of experiments, and unfortunately it turns out they do not help. Flyers, we don't see any evidence that Nextdoor grows any faster when flyers are passed out. But what I will do is, a part of the follow-up to this email, I just put together a couple slides of what does work, and there's a post you can do to trigger neighbors to send out postcards to each other on Nextdoor, which we will pay for in mail. There'll be an example of that in the PDF I'll share with everyone. The other thing is, as you're out and about in community meetings and anytime you're doing a press conference, you should make time to say, hey, everyone, I'm going to send a follow-up to this presentation here on Nextdoor. If you're not already on Nextdoor, take out your phone, download the app, put in your name, your phone number, your email address, or excuse me, your name, your email address, and your home address. Nextdoor will place you in the Nextdoor neighborhood where you live, and have Nextdoor, you need to verify that you live there, so just have Nextdoor call your home or your cell phone, and once you're verified, you'll have access. That has proved, those two things have really proven to be helpful to drive people to Nextdoor. The other thing I would say too is you can share your posts from Nextdoor on your other social media platforms, or just post on those social media platforms, encouraging people to join. And those three things we know work really well. And let's see here. Someone just asked if you have a Nextdoor agency account, can you have multiple authors? Yes, you can. If you have an account for your fire department, you can have unlimited authors. So you can have your fire prevention and education officer, you can have your public information officer, you can have the chief of the department, as many people as you like. And when you communicate on Nextdoor, as you saw in some of those posts, it actually comes from an individual person. And our data tells us that, unlike other social media platforms, Facebook or Twitter, where it's often the institution, because Nextdoor is a neighborly, friendly neighborhood platform, people want to see, and in fact, there will, if you use your real name in your picture, so like Joseph Porcelli from Annapolis Fire as opposed to Annapolis Fire Department, on average, you will see 112.4% greater engagement. Okay, I think that's, oh, a couple more. Someone said, thank you, you're welcome. And then another question is, do admins review information before they go out? No, we do not offer that functionality. However, if that's a concern, this engagement plan is great, because you can take it and say, here's what we're comfortable communicating over the next 8 weeks. Let's stick to this frame here. And then you can give examples of other types of posts that you're comfortable sharing with folks. So I would say, if you're not sure about giving multiple authors, start yourself, write sort of a standard and a policy of what types of information can go out, and that typically manages it well for everyone. Okay, let's see what else. Someone just asked, is the webinar available for viewing? Yes, I have been recording it, and as long as I don't hit the wrong button when I close it up, this webinar will be available, and we will upload it to our Nextdoor YouTube channel, and I will share the link with each of you as a follow-up. With that said, I don't believe there's any, oh, hold on, there's a couple more. They keep coming in. This is wonderful. Someone asked, who is able to run ads on Nextdoor? We do have an advertising product, and that is how Nextdoor makes money. We do not charge our public agency partners nor our members. So these are typically businesses like Ring, like Home Depot, for example. And we also have an advertising product that real estate agents can advertise their listings on the platform and become what is called like a neighborhood, the neighborhood's recommended. But local businesses, we're hoping we actually, there's tons of recommendations for them, and one of the things we're building is a way for them to participate. So if I gave the example earlier that I was looking for someone to repair my windshield, I could type in, I'm looking for someone to repair my windshield, and then Nextdoor would say, hey, here are the top recommended windshield repairs. And I think there might be a way, for example, for the guy Superior Auto Glass today to be able to pay to be like the top recommendation or something like that, as long as neighbors gave them the recommendations they deserved. Let's see what else. Oh, someone said, thank you for their webinar. It was really informative. Thank you for attending, everyone. With that said, I think I'm going to end here. If there's any further questions, please shoot me an email, or you could text me at my number on the screen, or hit me up on Twitter. I again want to thank Teresa Neal from the U.S. Fire Administration for making time to participate, and for all the outstanding resources they've made available on their website, and for just being willing to jump on a webinar with me and get information out to folks. So everyone, thank you so much for joining, and we'll talk to you soon, and I'll get an email follow-up out to everybody tomorrow with a link to the engagement plan, to the recording of the video, and anything else that I think, oh yeah, the growth tactics that someone asked about. Once again, thanks so much. Take care, everybody. All right, Teresa, thank you. I'll hit you up after this so we can debrief.
All right.